When did your parents blame you for their own mistakes? When I was 8, my mother taught me how to hide her bulimia from my father. And 7 years later, when she nearly died, they both blamed me for keeping her secret. My mother made me her accomplice the day she realized I was old enough to lie convincingly. She taught me to tell dad she was showering when she was purging, to buy her laxatives with my allowance so they wouldn't show on credit cards, and to spray air freshener in specific patterns that masked the smell of vomit. I thought I was helping her stay safe from dad's temper. He had no patience for weakness, and she convinced me that if he found out, he'd leave us both. "You're such a good girl," she'd whisper after particularly bad nights. "Mommy would be lost without you." By the time I was 10, I could clean a bathroom of all evidence in under 3 minutes. The secret consumed my childhood. I memorized her binge cycles, knowing Tuesday nights were the worst because dad had late surgeries. I learned to dispose of empty food packages in neighbors' trash cans. When she passed out on the bathroom floor, I'd drag her to bed and set alarms to check her breathing. I missed sleepovers because she might need me. My grades dropped from exhaustion, but I couldn't tell anyone why. She'd trained me too well, made me believe that keeping her secret was the same as keeping her alive. "If daddy finds out, my heart will break," she'd say. "You don't want mommy to die of a broken heart, do you?" Of course I tried to convince her to get help. I researched treatment centers at the library and constantly showed her websites about recovery. One night when I begged her to get treatment, she gripped my shoulders hard enough to leave bruises. "This is how I survive. Without this, I'm nothing. Do you want your mother to be nothing?" After that, I stopped trying to save her and focused on keeping her functional. I became an expert at reading her moods, knowing which days she'd need me to cover for her and which days she could fake normal. One day when I was 15, dad and I came home and found her unconscious in a pool of vomit and blood. She'd torn her esophagus purging and was hemorrhaging. As paramedics worked on her, dad turned to me with dawning horror. "You knew," he said, seeing my lack of surprise. "How long have you known?" I couldn't lie anymore, so I told him. 7 years of secrets poured out while we waited to hear if she'd survive. He didn't say a word, just stared at me like I was a stranger. When she woke up 3 days later, the first thing she asked was whether I'd told. Dad answered for me, his voice cold. "She told me everything. 7 years, and my own daughter helped you lie to me." Mom's eyes filled with tears, but not from shame, from betrayal. "She was supposed to protect me," she whispered. "That's what daughters do." The story she told the doctors made me sound like I'd enabled her, even encouraged her. She claimed I'd encouraged her disorder, hidden it from my poor father, helped her get sicker because I liked the special attention. She had evidence. All the laxatives I'd bought, the lies I'd told, the years I'd kept her secret. No one asked why an 8-year-old would choose to enable bulimia. They just saw a teenager who'd hidden her mother's potentially fatal illness for 7 years. Dad believed every word because it was easier than admitting he'd missed the signs. The family therapist focused on my codependency issues, rather than asking how a child became responsible for an adult's disease. Mom played the victim perfectly, crying about how I prevented her from getting help sooner. They sent her to inpatient treatment while I lived with my father, who could barely look at me. "She could have died," he said one night, "and it would have been your fault. You're a traitor to this whole family." When Mom came home after 3 months, supposedly cured, she was different, cold. She'd gained weight in treatment and blamed me for every pound. "7 years of my life ruined," she'd say, "because you couldn't just tell someone." She started purging again within a week, but now she made sure I knew about it. She'd leave the bathroom door open, leave vomit for me to find, leave empty laxative boxes on my pillow. When I told Dad, he accused me of trying to sabotage her recovery with false accusations. I was trapped in a house with 2 parents who hated me for opposite reasons. Mom hated me for telling her secret after 7 years. Dad hated me for keeping it that long. Neither believed I'd been a child forced into an impossible position. When I turned 18, I thought I could finally leave, but Mom had one last card to play. The night before I was supposed to leave for college, she took a bottle of pills. Not enough to die, just enough to be hospitalized. She told the doctors I'd driven her to it by abandoning her after creating her dependence on me. Dad pulled me aside at the hospital and made things clear. If I left now, after driving her to attempt suicide, he'd make sure everyone knew what kind of daughter I was. My college, my future employers, everyone would know about the girl who kept her mother's eating disorder secret for 7 years, then abandoned her when she was most vulnerable. So I stayed. I deferred college and continued living in their house where Mom made sure I knew exactly how much I'd ruined her life. She purged openly now, leaving messes for me to find like punishment. Dad pretended not to notice, satisfied that I was paying for my crimes by witnessing what I'd caused. They'd found the perfect revenge, making me watch her slowly kill herself while blaming me for both enabling and exposing her. I was 21, sleeping in my childhood bed, cleaning up vomit again, but now everyone knew it was my fault she was vomiting in the first place. Full story on the channel below.